Today's guest on a Life and a Living podcast is Jennifer Lyall, who is based in Toronto. Now, Jennifer is a really, really fascinating lady. She refers to herself as the Chief Energy Optimizer, runs her own business where she works as an intuitive business mentor, primarily to female, but not exclusively. And she really helps people to focus. But very interesting conversation about her journey from a very kind of business commercial background, studies and the work she did in the corporate world, to become and discover healing and energy, and how she brings that to the work that she does with entrepreneurs. And she focuses primarily on entrepreneurs. But we talked about a number of things about how she can help you really, unblock those things that are holding you back and that are keeping you hidden from, the world that you should be really bringing yourself to. But also how to really find out what is the core of you and the essence of you. And she has, tools and processes for actually helping people to discover that and to tap into that. And talking about tapping, we also talked quite a bit about how you tap into your own creativity, because we often hear that being talked about, but we all know that, I need to tap into my creativity. But so you say to somebody, well, how do you do that? Well, then, Jennifer has the answer as to how you do that. And she does an interesting test where you actually go in and you can check your own energy and then determine what you're going to do about it. So really, really interesting lady. And Jennifer is a lovely lady and very interesting and very successful at what she does. So really, really well worth listening to. So if you want to listen to other podcast guests, we've got some great people on the show. Go to the website, www.johnmurphyinternational.com. Go to the podcast, A Life and a Living. Please subscribe, because it really helps us to get to a wider audience. So in the meantime, sit back and enjoy the very interesting Jennifer Lyall. Jennifer, thank you indeed for joining us here on A Life and a Living podcast. It's a real honor to have you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so delighted for our conversation. It's going to be so much fun.
It will be fun. You describe yourself as an intuitive business mentor. You might just explain what you mean by intuitive business mentor.
Yeah, so with our intuition, it is like another language, and it's the language of energy. And so I blend tuning into energy of people, places, ideas to help entrepreneurs with their business strategies. So I've helped $1 million entrepreneurs make amazing decisions, and they have this gut instinct and they just don't trust it all the time. And I just reflect back to them what is going on. They're like, okay, I knew that. Yes, you can trust it. So I blend the intuition with business strategy in the work that I do with my clients.
Okay. I mean, clearly you're fascinated by energy. We're going to get into that a bit more, but it's just interesting. Your background is actually quite commercial. So it's reading your background and looking at what you're doing right now in terms of energy. It seems an interesting journey that you went from a very commercial career to what I would call it kind of less commercial and much more intuitive and based around energy.
Yeah. And there was a great deal of surrender involved with that process, because I was in a place, I was in the corporate world. I had experience in a little bit of sales, a lot of marketing, project management, event planning. So very logical mind. I graduated from university with honors. So I was all about the mind. And I came to a place in my business where I just simply was not happy with the results that I was seeing. And it's like, I'm so smart. I'm an amazing person. Surely there must be a better way, must be an easier way. And there must be something that I can do that can make my heart sing. And as soon as I had that moment, I just sat on my couch. It was March of 2010, 6 a.m. in the morning. So it's pitch black outside. My house is quiet. I gave myself permission to discover what made my heart sing. And then all of these crazy synchronicities started to happen. And to be honest, I felt like I was going crazy. And I used to keep saying to my husband, do you think I'm crazy yet? With the different things that I was experiencing in my meditations, through a process called automatic writing, and through what I was seeing for all these different synchronicities. It's like, do you think I'm crazy yet? Do you think I'm crazy yet? He's like, will you stop saying that, please? So it was quite a journey.
And when you say kind of crazy, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, when you say crazy stuff, I mean, what sort of stuff are you talking about?
How crazy do you want me to get here? Like okay, I'll be full
Yeah.
on here. So I had attended a networking event and we were encouraged to support each other. So I had this amazing experience with this woman who said she did soul readings. It's like, oh my gosh, she's going to help me figure out what I'm going to do, right? What's going to make my heart sing. And because she wanted to learn about podcasting, and I was doing podcasting at the time. So I came to her for this session. I'm feeling so emotional, like wanting to cry, and I don't even know why, but it was a really important experience in my journey. And she did something called an Akashic record reading. So this is full on woo. I hope you're ready for this.
Yeah.
They say that every single soul has a book up in heaven's library. And in this book, it has information about every single possibility for every single lifetime, past, present, future, as well as your ancestors. So she opens up this book and she says, wow, I see you come from a long lineage of healers. And I knew that to be true because my uncle is an energy healer in Gibraltar. And it's like, oh, okay. So this lady's real. She's legit. All right, great. And she says, I see you doing work with your hands. And I see you discovering some sort of tool at an event of some sort. And I see your business changing from focusing on wellness to incorporating spirituality. It's like, do you see me connecting with Deepak Chopra, who's a holistic medical doctor in the United States, or Wayne Dyer, who is a former spiritual teacher? And she's like, no, but I do see you making a really big impact in people's lives. So that opened the door to a spiritual wonderland where I discovered crystals, I discovered oracle cards, and a pendulum. And these were tools that helped me to let go of the control, because I had to control things. I had to be really focused and have things done, to surrender and become detached from what was going to occur. In any decisions, any choices, in any situations, become detached from it, see what could come of it, and also play with creating what I wanted in life. So it took me a year to really get to that place of surrender where my dowsing, which you may have heard of from years ago, I first learned about it in school. They used to use a Y stick to
Yeah, that's right.
to drill for water, right?
Yes.
So it's tuning into the life force energies, and you can use a tool like a pendulum, or it could be even a pendant on a necklace, where you can ask questions. Yes, no, show me yes, show me no, show me yes, but show me no, but. And I use a tool called a ray chart to help me with making decisions as well. And it gets me to a place where I'm detached from the outcome, peaceful, quiet, and going within. And then I can see and listen to what is the response. I can feel the sensations in my body. I might hear a word whispered in my ear. I might see a flash of an image of what's going on. And a big part of my early journey was automatic writing. And you may have even experienced this, or some of your listeners.
What's automatic writing? Just so
yeah, I'm going to describe this. So if anybody has done journaling, and you just kind of surrender in your writing, and you're just letting ideas and thoughts out. And I would get messages on so many interesting concepts. And so it's like, wow, that can't be true. And then later on in a book or a video I would watch, or in a conversation, somebody would share, like kind of verifying that, yeah, that message that I just received was true, to help me learn to trust some of these things that I was getting. And so through automatic writing, I was given instructions for my own modality called Connect to You. And the intention of that work is to connect our intuitive brain with our emotional brain and our logical brain. So tapping into those three wisdoms of this physical being of who we are right now. And it was literally a stick diagram with little waves, move energy this way, say this prayer here, say this affirmation there. And then I wrote out a meditation, a couple meditations that are part of this process. And I trained some different and amazing practitioners in how to do this modality, and it was translated into Spanish. So the practitioner who translated into Spanish, she said, you know, when I was working through the meditation, I got stuck on a couple of words. Can you help me with understanding it? But she didn't want to tell me what the words were. So I went through, I don't speak, yo hablo español un poco.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
speak
yeah.
it just a tiny little bit. I pulled out my pendulum and I asked for each sentence, well, each paragraph, is this paragraph correct? Yes, no, yes, no. And I had 2 paragraphs, and those were the 2 spots where she had some questions. And the one that comes to mind was, there was a sentence where I used the word creek and she used the word river. And through my dowsing, I was able to pick up that there was something off in this. And then that's where she revealed that, yeah, I was having difficulties. And so they're very similar, but they're also very different, right? Because a creek has a different energy than a river does, and it calls up a different image in the mind. So this modality has been shared all around the world. I have clients in Mauritius, South Africa, the UK. Yeah, it's been experienced around the world, but those were some of the interesting experiences that
And just explain that. Sorry, can I go back and just explain that Connect to You modality? I mean, exactly what is that, and how did you discover it?
So I discovered it because one morning in one of my meditations, as I was early in my journey, I was sitting there and I felt like something was poking around in my stomach. And then I felt like something poking around in my head. And then I sat to do my automatic writing and I said, what was that? And the message I got was, we're like unlocking the door to your soul to set it free. And the door's always been unlocked, but you just didn't know how to open it. And in my head, we're just making more room for your soul to be more in the logical mind and let the ego take a break. So making space. So Connect to You is similar to what I experienced. There are 2 guided meditations. The first one is a karma clearing, which clears away energy. So earlier I mentioned how there's the Akashic records, and that talks about all of the lineages and the different possibilities of our lifetimes. Well, in all those other lifetimes, we are also doing stuff, and some stuff is fantastic and other things are not so good. And sometimes we have experiences as like, oh my gosh, I promise I will never do that again. And you know, maybe it's somebody who in another lifetime they were speaking out against something, and then maybe great harm came to their family, so they swore, I promise, I swear I'll never do that again. That energy can be what is stopping an entrepreneur from sharing their voice now in this lifetime where we're talking.
Right. Okay.
And that's something that's called, ancestrally, it's known as epigenetics, where the energies that, so not only our DNA gets passed down, but also the energy of the beliefs from other generations. So, you know, if there's vows to poverty, or if there are just thoughts of, it's hard work, you always have to work hard, and that's the message that keeps getting passed down through generations. That's the mindset that you might be fighting against as an entrepreneur.
Right. So going from there to become this business mentor,
Yes.
how did that happen? And what was that leap, and what was that process in terms of thought process of it? Okay, I know I have this. I sense it. You're obviously very knowledgeable and passionate about energy, and you understand the impact it can have. How did that get you to say, okay, I'm going to actually be a mentor?
So a couple of things around that. So one of my focuses in my purpose is to inspire 1 million people to connect in with their soul and also believe in their magic, their purpose. And a lot of people fulfill their purpose through their business. And I found that a lot of the clients that I was attracting, like 90% of the clients that I was attracting, were entrepreneurs. So it just made sense for me to focus on serving that market. It helps me fulfill my purpose. It helps them fulfill their purpose, creating a ripple effect of goodness out in the world. And I can bring in my knowledge, because as I mentioned, you know, I was all focused. I studied background in commerce and marketing and event planning and project management. So I have I'm really good at the higher level thinking, and then I bring the intuition into it as well.
Okay.
So
And am I right in saying that your primary area is with female entrepreneurs?
yes.
I think what you say, if I remember what you said, it was something about losing control with too many ideas, and you help to get them centered and focused. Is that
Yeah.
did I capture that right?
Yeah, yeah. It's when that overwhelm comes in and there's so many ideas of all these different things that I can do and how I can serve and all, oh my goodness, it's just so juicy. You want to do it all. And there's that overwhelm that comes with that and it stops you. So you do little bit, little bit, little bit. It's like, okay, let's get you focused and grounded and into your truth. And what is it that's going to move you forward the most? And doing it in a manner that's really in alignment with your values and what makes your heart sing and how you want to live. So instead of feeling just totally depleted and drained by your business, it's about allowing it to energize you.
Okay. So is it different for men and women?
Yes, it is.
Describe the difference.
The difference is it's harder to get the man out of the logical mind.
Okay, and is that the only difference? Is it just the kind of mindset and the way, or is it something a bit more fundamental than that, or is it just simply that?
For me, I'm a woman, I get it, and I find it's easier for me to guide people through the experiences that I've worked through. I have had some male clients, and those are ones who are more open to spirituality. So if a man came to me and he knows that I do spiritual work in my work and he wanted to work with me, I wouldn't turn him away.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I was saying to you before we started that, I mean, I do have a great interest in energy. I've done some work around Reiki, so I do get that, and I find it fascinating. I wouldn't know it to the level that you do, but I do find it quite fascinating. But if you go back to the what you were saying there in terms of kind of helping people kind of with overwhelm, they've got so many ideas, and to figure out what is it that actually is going to make their heart sing. You say that you also can help people release blocks that keeps them hidden and that they stay hiding. How do you actually do that? So if somebody comes along to you, firstly, how do you identify they've got the block? And because I'm quite sure that the individual probably doesn't know it or wouldn't describe it in that way. And secondly, how do you go about releasing it?
Great question. So first, I find that my clients often do know that they're stopped because it's just like how I was feeling, where I know that I'm amazing and I know that I'm not getting the results that I believe in my full heart and soul that I'm capable of. So there's something there that's stopping me. What the heck is it? And if we can't figure it out logically, then that is the cue to go inside. So there are things within the subconscious mind as well as the energetic field that can be coming up. And we can distill it down through questioning, through language, either the language that they're using. Sometimes I get the hit, or I like to ask a question, or I ask about a particular area, and they're like, oh, yes. So it's a combination of the questioning and the intuitive insights that I get, as well as me questioning the individual and them going within and getting the answers.
Mm-hmm.
There's often multiple layers of stuff that's going on. I'm sure you saw the movie Shrek way back when. It's layers, like an onion or a parfait, depending on whose perspective. But there's always layers of different things to work through.
And when you're talking about that, something just came to my mind when you were talking about that. Very often, sorry, this is just my experience or my opinion. Is that very often when you're somebody that is, use the word blocked, you get stuck, whatever the term might be. But at some level, they're getting something from being stuck.
They can be,
right?
yes.
And
Yeah,
and sometimes that's just something they hang on to because it may be their story, it may be what frames their outlook on life. So if it is something that even if I don't acknowledge it in that way, but I'm getting something for holding on to it, how do you help me to let go of that so that I don't hold on to it?
So there are a couple of things. One is I will do energy work where I will channel energy through my hands. And as I work with clients remotely, I will also guide them on perhaps a particular way to breathe to help release things, or where to place their hands on their body. If it's showing up in their physical body somewhere, I might guide them to visualize dissolving it. And I find that the combination of releasing it energetically and then taking action in a way that helps to break through that the combination of that two-step seems to be different and seems to be what helps them really break through it. Because what I find with a lot of amazing coaches is that they talk about, all right, so you've just got to do it. And they are right. You do have to just do it. But when you are stuck in that story so much, it just feels like there's this brick wall in front of you. So when I can help them with raising their vibration and with releasing it and then taking action, that's when the courage and the momentum builds more easily.
When you talk about that kind of energy clearing that you're talking about there, which is really what you are talking about, is it kind of a one and done, or is it actually continuous work? I mean, okay, so I go for you for a session and we have the session and you clear the energy, but then I go back in, and am I likely to kind of block myself again?
That's a great question. So what I do with my clients is I teach them how to also maintain their energy levels. And that helps them to not have to come up against that experience again. So it's not a one and done, but it's an expansion of your awareness. So it's kind of like if you knew that when you drive in this particular area, you're going to go through a big pothole and you might go in, I don't know where this analogy is going, so just hang on with me here. You don't go down the same road again because you know that you're going to go down and over through that pothole, and you know that you don't want to have your car's alignment thrown out. And when you have that awareness and you know that finally, okay, I'm not going to go there again because I don't want that damage, because you know how uncomfortable and how yucky it is, you get to a point where finally you stop hitting yourself over the head, and either you learn how to go around, dodge the pothole, or you just avoid that route because you know it just doesn't bring you joy anymore. You get so tired of the trauma and the drama that comes along with going that route that you just choose a different route. You learn that you deserve better and that you get to be an energy snob, and you like to feel better, so you don't want to go there.
So you give me tools to kind of help me to help myself in that sense. One of the things that, and we often talk about it is about, okay, you've got to tap into your creativity, right? And it's one of those things everyone goes, yeah. And then it's kind of, okay, so how do I do that? So how do you actually help people tap into their creativity?
I help them I teach them how to check their inner battery. Would you like me to teach you how to do that right now? Okay, it's really fun. If you have a pen and paper handy, that's great. And if not, that's okay too. So I'm just gonna grab a little piece of paper I have here. So we go through life, we check the battery on our phone and on our laptops and our digital stuff, and we check the battery to make sure that we got enough juice in our devices to make sure that we can get our job done. But how often do we check in to see where we're at? So this exercise teaches you how to check your inner battery physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So what you're going to do is you're going to close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. You're going inside of your body right now, and ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high, how do you feel physically right now? First number that comes to you.
8.
8. Perfect. And what are a few words that go with that?
Healthy, lively, energized, curious.
Beautiful. I love it. And if somebody who's listening to this, maybe you have a number where you're a 2, and maybe you feel achy in your knee, or maybe you didn't sleep well the night before. You just do a quick scan of your body and get present to how you're feeling, whether something's really enlivened, or if it's heavy or achy or sore or energized. This is a little check-in for you to just pause and actually acknowledge, what are you feeling right now? How's your body feeling physically? Okay, Great. Next question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel emotionally? 1 being low, 10 being high.
9.
Awesome. And anything that goes along with that?
Calm, fulfilled, warm, peace.
Beautiful. I love it. And then the next question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel mentally? First number.
8, I'd say, yeah.
Awesome. And any words that go along with that?
Alert. Curious again is coming up. Interested. Engaged.
Something that was interesting for me is I gave myself a 7 and I got thirsty. So I had to pause and take a drink there. If you heard me take a sip, that's what I was doing.
No, I have my eyes closed, so I didn't hear you. See you.
Oh, but I didn't know if you could hear. Anyways, it's all good. But I just wanted to add that because I was surprised, like mentally thirsty. I would have expected that to come up physically, but my brain needed a little more water. So that's really good awareness. And then the last question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel spiritually? And this is your connection to whatever higher power you believe in. So your religion.
6.
Okay, fantastic. And just to add a little more context for any of the listeners, if religion isn't something that they feel really aligned to, it could be to your purpose or just faith in things working out. Okay, 6, great awareness. And what words come up for you with that?
Distant.
Okay.
Unclear. Contact.
Beautiful. And for me, when I have a number that is 7 or lower, I need to do something to shift it. So earlier I mentioned Dr. Deepak Chopra, and he does these wonderful 21-day meditation series with Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, I've seen them, yeah.
Yeah, and so one of them recently was on energy. And in one of the conversations, he talked about how the medical community was trying to come up with one question that they could ask their patients so they could get a good sense of how they really were, because how are you just wasn't cutting it. And it took a while to come to this exact question, but in the end, they came to the question of, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you have the energy to do everything that you need to do in a day? And if you're 8, 9, or 10, you're thriving. 5, 6, or 7, you're surviving. 1, 2, 3, or 4, you're suffering. So if you are wanting to get into that creative zone, you need to have your energy levels all up at 8, 9, or 10, because that's when you're going to be more in the flow and able to come up with fantastic ideas. Now, for me, I had a 7 of thirsty. I stopped and I took a drink, and I need to really finish a full glass. But there are simple things that we can do to help boost our energy that then will allow us to get into that creative zone. It could be dancing, moving your body in some way, shape, or form. It could be going outside and being in nature. It could be deep breathing, meditation, pulling out a coloring book or some Lego and priming the creative brain that way. It's about understanding different techniques of things that you can reach for easily that will help you with boosting your energy. And I have a program called My Energy Check, where I teach people 10 different mindfulness approaches that they could use to help with boosting their energy to go along with that little check-in.
Really interesting. That's really, really interesting. Jennifer, this has been great. We could go on talking for quite some time, but I want to respect your time. Before I get to where people can get in touch with you, 2 questions I ask everybody. A book, I know you're writing a book, but other than that one, a book that's had an impact upon you. Which book is it, and what impact did it have?
Interestingly, what comes up for me is a book called The Lean Startup. And are you familiar with that book?
I have heard it, yeah. I think I've read it.
Yeah, I don't have it on my bookshelf in front of me at the moment, but it was talking about how you don't have to have everything figured out for any of the initiatives that you want to put out there in the world. You're better off getting it like 70% done, getting the client feedback, and then finalizing it, rather than finalizing it based on what you think they want in your head. So that general concept really helped me with stepping out of that perfectionism in my business.
Right. Oh yeah, very good. Very good. And
Yes.
daily rituals, do you have any? What are they and what do they do for you?
I do. So I use this little check-in throughout my day. I start my day with the check-in. I boost my energy if my numbers are off. This morning when I woke up, physically I was feeling really low. So I did a beautiful happiness meditation, which was delightful. I'll do my check-in, I'll meditate, I'll do my planning of the day and setting the intention of how I want to show up in the day, and some form of exercise. So this morning it was some yoga and a bike ride. Other mornings it might be a hike or a run. It just depends on what my body's craving that day.
Fantastic. Jennifer, this has been really, really interesting. Thank you. Where can people get in touch with you?
You can visit my website, jlyall.com, jlyall.com.
Well, we'll put all of that in the show notes. But Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a real honor to have you, and it's been a hugely interesting conversation. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.